What's going on, guys? Addy out here for my first video for Torchlight Infinite Season 9 Outlaw. I'm going to be going over a TLDR from the patch notes in regard to things such as character changes, skill changes, which there are a lot of, and the legendary or unique changes. There's been quite a drop in early game power from what I can tell from these patch notes, and I just want to go ahead and cover that. But we've also got some buffs and some pretty exciting things, so I'm just going to go ahead and dive into that for you now. And try to get this out for you very quickly. That way you don't have to read through all the patch notes if you don't have time. If you're watching with said type of content, go ahead and throw a sub at the channel. We are less than 50 subs away from breaking my goal of 2,000 subs on the channel. Thank you to everybody that has already subscribed and everybody who will subscribe. Now, let's go ahead and hop into the, shall we? Now, before we get into specific details in regard to the talent changes, there are a couple of just general baseline things that I noticed from the reveal trailer that I really wanted to go over, because the talent changes I've got questions about, and until we see the actual trees, nothing's really going to be alleviated for me. I'm not sure how this is going to play out for us. I understand what they were hoping to achieve, and I don't know if we're going to achieve it. So the big thing for me is that we now get our main tree, and then we have 3 extra trees that we can choose from instead of 2. You only get 1 core talent from each of your trees after your first. So you'll get 2 from your first tree, 1, 1, and 1 for a total of 5 core talents, where previously you would only have 2 extra trees, but you would get a total of 6 talents. There have been some changes to core talents that really stood out to me, but many of them have only been like 5% buffs. So I'm not sure how that's going to play out for us. Also, the big thing for me that has me worried and questioning how this is going to feel for early game is the point differential. So your first tree that you go into, your primary tree, you still get your first core talent at 12 points invested, and then you get the second one available at 24 points invested. But every subsequent tree, to get the 1 core talent out of that tree, you have to invest 28 points. When you hear that, it doesn't sound too bad, but let's just realize how the old system worked. Previously, you would get core talents at levels with 12, 24, 36, 48, 60, and finally 72 points invested into your trees. Now, you get the first 2 at 12 and 24, same as it was. However, you don't get your next core talent until 52 points invested. After that, you don't get your core talent until 80 points invested. And then you don't get the final one until you have 108 points invested. That is a big difference. Like, you just generally leveling your character, you're gonna feel your power going up much. It's just gonna feel a lot slower as you're progressing through that, just because there's such large gaps in between accessing your core talents. On top of which, of course, like I said prior, we are losing a core talent. We're going from 6 down to 5, so we'll have to see how that plays out in the long run. Going into some of these specific core talents that really caught my eye. First up, we have a new core talent called Hidden Mastery. This simply states that you cannot inflict critical strike chance, but you get 40% additional attack damage. This could open up some interesting build options. The next one that caught my eye is Shared Fate. When there are no sentries within 10 meters, trigger sentry main skill with a 1-second interval. The number of sentries that can be placed at once equals your sentry upper limit, plus 25% additional sentry damage. This is going to be very nice for sentry builds, able to just drop your full load if you're not within 10 meters, while also giving you an additional damage bonus as well. Very nice looking. Last Stand is a very interesting option here. You pay a heavy price. Your block ratio is fixed at 0%. However, for every 1% attack or spell block, you gain 0.8 additional damage up to 80%. Which means, for example, if you have 50 attack block and 50 spell block, you would, instead of having that block, be getting the full 80% additional damage. And this is not just attack damage, this is a global modifier for any type of build. Very, very crazy. Defensiveness got a slight nerf. It is no longer going to give you the 100 flat block. Dirty Tricks was reworked so that it now also affects your minions, stating now, additionally, when minions deal damage for each element on the enemy, additional 6% damage multiplicative. Indifference was completely gutted. I don't even know how else to describe that. Prior to this patch, it would have given you +1 to all skills and 10 sealed mana compensation. Now it gives you 1% additional damage, 1% additional minion damage, up to 50% for every 5 remaining energy you have. I don't see anyone taking this ever. Knowledge has been changed. It used to give 10 empower skill level and 10 defensive skill level. It now gives 100% focus skill damage and 50% sealed mana compensation for focus skills, while also allowing you to put a focus skill in your active slot. Very interesting. Focus builds are going to be looking. Focus builds look to be very strong, but until I see the numbers, I can't be sure. And lastly, Empower has been buffed. The additional Spirit Magus skill damage bonus is going to be going from 85 to 100%. Those were the standout core talents that were listed in the patch notes to me. Many of the other ones were just like 5% changes, so like 20 to 25 or 10 to 15 or something along that lines for the most part. So those are where it stood out to me there. Again, until we see these trees, and again, the actual talent trees themselves are going to be changed as well, from what I can tell. If you look at what I have here, this is a screenshot of what Elementalist looks like right now. This is a screenshot of what Elementalist looked like in the preview video. It looks like the actual tree itself is smaller total point wise to get to the end of it, but they did not scroll over, so we can't see. All I can do is reference where the image is on the Elementalist based on what I have versus what they have. We will see. Moving into the item changes, candles have been nerfed. Yeah, they said about a 20% nerf, and then they showed a preview of the attack focus candle in the patch notes, showing that went from a level 20 skill gem to a level 1 skill gem, which is pretty wild, especially if all of the supports are following that trend. That is a pretty big fall off for those candles for the damage that they provide. Will they still be usable? Yes, but will you feel that? Probably. The elemental gloves have been buffed, so Israfel's Law, Ralph's Law, and Magnus's Law. Essentially, the damage numbers look to have been doubled. So, for example, Israfel's Law used to provide 5 to 6 additional cold damage. That has been buffed to 13 to 14. Ralph's and Magnus's seem to be following roughly the same. The bonus for Ralph and Magnus is a little bit less than Israfel, but pretty good still. The Wind Breath rings have gotten a crazy buff to their corrosion effect if you hit it. Previously, the minimum channel stacks and the channel stacks maximum did not change if you corroded that. It just corroded it and re-rolled the value. Now, the minimum on dispersion can go from 1 to 4 to 2 to 5, and it also gets wild channeled. You can get between 30 to 50 up to 45 to 60% chance for double damage. And on convergence, your max channel stacks can go potentially from a top end of 4 to a top end of 5. Wild channeled, you go from 8 to 12 up to 12 to 16% chance to avoid damage. So these rings have gotten a pretty noticeable buff if you get lucky with the corrosion. Thunder manipulators have gotten a sizable buff. Previously, they gave you 35% additional lightning damage against numbed enemies. With the new reworked gloves, they will now be giving you 70 to 75% additional lightning damage, which is insane. Actually more than double what it gave you prior. Those gloves are going to be absolutely insane. Light Hunter Belt has been changed, and it's kind of strange. Previously, it gave you 40% of your life was converted to energy shield. Now it just gives you 32 to 40% max energy shield increase. The erosion resistance has been removed. However, you're getting a pretty incredible defensive role here instead. While you have energy shield, you take between 25 to 30% less damage. Pretty insane. The deterioration stress police blight has also gotten a buff. Last patch, it was giving you 16% additional damage per stack up to 8 times. Now it's giving you 15% additional damage up to 10 times. Lastly, one of the leveling items that you could get for Erica, for Shadows, has been incredibly buffed, called Despised Shadow. You can actually get this out of the vault, and it has gotten a pretty sizable buff. This amulet used to give you minus 20 to minus 10 damage, additional damage. It now gives you positive 14 to 16% phantom damage. That is a noticeable increase. You're going from an amulet that used to give you 0.8 to 0.9% damage. That is pretty notable. Also, one thing to note, reduced damage applies at the end. So that's an even bigger damage difference than it may seem on paper. But with the good comes the bad, and we've got quite a list of interesting nerfs to different things. Farewell Desire has been incredibly nerfed. It used to provide 200 to 220 gear physical damage. It now gives 120 to 150. Also, the consume life and mana on defeat has a range now. Prior, it was a static 1%. It is now 1 to 2%. That's going to be very, very noticeable on that weapon. Both of those stats, oof, rough. Also, another very Erica heavy nerf, electricity amplifier. The roll for lightning skills was a static 3 prior. It is now 1 to 3. It has a range. Also, the additional damage used to cap at 30 stacks, giving you 30% additional max damage. It now goes to only 20. So a 33% nerf to the additional max damage, on top of which the item now has a roll range on the lightning skill level. This probably won't be too crazy considering how common it is, but you're going to be pretty sad if you're playing Thunder Spike and happen to find a +1 instead of a +3. You got another pretty Erica specific nerf. Frantic Shadow has been nerfed. The gear attack speed was 22 to 26%. It is now 14 to 26%. So the roll range on that is going to be even harder to get a good one for. Blind Vision has been nerfed. The main skill is now supported by a level 10 to 20 wind projectiles instead of always a level 20. And the 60% bonus to projectile speed applying to your projectile damage is now a roll range of 30 to 60. Kaleidoscope, if I understand the change to Kaleidoscope is a dead item now. It used to be that you would use Kaleidoscope when you were doing conversions. That way you could apply all of the additional damage there to your skill. If no longer grants all stats means that you can only have one of these at a time, period. This ring is dead in the water, unfortunately. Overall, lots of strange nerfs to early game items. Meanwhile, late game items like Truth have been buffed, going from 3 to 4 all skill levels up to 4 to 5 all skill levels, for example. So very strange to me, but okay. Not sure why that's happening. Now we get to the skill gems. Now we're going to go over the skill gems, the support skill gems specifically, also going over some of the changes to the active skills and some of the different things that you can use in-game as well. There have been some very substantial nerfs in skills, just active and support skills. It's wow. Greater multiple projectiles has been completely removed. Does not exist anymore. Superpower has also been removed. Precise superpower, I believe, is still in the game. It was not mentioned. That may be just not something that's in the patch notes. We'll have to see. Mobility skills have been changed, and probably for the worst, from what I can tell. They now scale their distance with your movement speed instead of your attack speed. But the whole point of the movement skills is that you're stacking attack speed, and you don't really want to be stacking movement speed, so it's kind of weird. Blink arrow also now has a cooldown and gives a movement speed buff once you use it. So RIP blink arrow leveling, you will be missed. As far as active skills, Ring of Ice has gotten a 5% damage buff, scaling up to 5.44% at level 20. Mind Control has been giga nerfed, and I mean giga nerfed. At level 1, Mind Control has lost 22% of its damage. At level 20, Mind Control has lost 18.57% of its damage. The jump support skill now has a static +2 jumps at all levels. It used to be once you got that above level 20, you could get that up to 3 jumps, so that's going to be a nerf there. Haunt has also been nerfed. The additional damage now only at level 20 goes up to 0.8, where it was prior almost 8%. So that's almost non-existent on the skill gem now. Protection field has been massively nerfed. It no longer scales its effect off of Magus origin effect. Oof. The Magnus defensive package has essentially been nuked from orbit, from what I can tell. It's not looking great for Magus lovers right now. Feels bad. Track has been nerfed. It used to go up to it used to go down to 0.3% on the trigger time. Now the fastest it can trigger is 0.5. That is a 39.99% damage loss if you were using track on your main skill. Rhythm has also been nerfed. It used to go down to 0.2. It now can only go down to 0.3. That is a 33% loss in overall damage because you're just triggering less. Also, the secondary additional portion on Rhythm has also been nerfed. If you were actually getting the full effect from the secondary effect, before the patch, you're now getting 15.625% less damage there. The Sentry activation medium has also seen a substantial nerf. It used to be able to summon up to 3 sentries. It can now only summon a static of 2, and the overall damage loss is 40%. You lost 40% of the additional damage on your Sentry activation medium. Alrighty, and lastly, while this is not a direct change to characters or skills, I do want to bring this up because it is very, very, very substantial. Blending on your belts. Blending is still in the game. The Oasis is still in the game. However, you can no longer blend onto a belt a hero trait. Those have been completely removed. So if you were planning on using that in your build, that's gone. It does not exist. Also, with the changes to the core talents, pedigrees are going to be insane. It used to be that you could only get a one talent that was a main talent 1 and a main talent 2. So the first was main talent 1, the second was main talent 2. Now pedigrees can pick any combination of 2 talents that are not the same. Pedigrees are going to be absolutely crazy. And depending on how much power we gain or lose with these talent changes, I expect pedigrees to be, I expect the top end of pedigrees to be higher than they've ever been before going into this season. So, and with that, that's the overview of the TLDR for the skills, gems, and character changes in Outlaw Season 9. I didn't go over the character-specific changes because I can pull there's, other than the big Carino 3 rework, there's not much to really go over, as you can see. I mean, I don't play Moto, so I couldn't even tell you anything about this. Bit of a change for Iris, but I don't play Oracle Thea. This is not too crazy. This, I'm a big Carino 3 stan, if you don't know. I'm really, really excited for this, and I'm really excited to play with this season. But yeah, and with that, we're fully wrapped. Thank you for watching the video. If you made it this far, go ahead and throw a sub and drop a comment telling me what big changes you're excited for or not looking forward to, because there's pros and cons for every balance patch. I'll see you all in the next video. I'm out of here. Bye-bye.